You guys, I did it! Woo! So excited. I got a 98 on my Med Surg 2 final. And when I say this class was going to be the death of me, it was going to be the death of me. So stoked. You guys, I did it! I passed Med Surg 2. I got a 98 on my final. Oh my gosh. And it was totally awesome because the study guide that I made, I gave it to, my group, and they all used it too and also got high grades. They were like, all we did was study what you gave us. And dude, okay, let me start from the beginning. Med Surg 2 was going to bury me. You know, I had Med Surg 2, this mod, I also had a computer class, but we don't care about that computer class. We care about Med Surg 2 because that computer class, all the systems, the systems for different hospitals and facilities and stuff might be different. So the information was useful from the class, seeing what the patient comes in with, where they were transferred from, their signs and symptoms, trying to diagnose them, nursing interventions, all that stuff was useful. But honestly, that was a class that we could have just done from bed in the comfort of our own home instead of driving to school to do that. Today was the last day of my mod. I had my Med Surg 2 final exam. I was stressed. I had to pass this exam. I hate being in a position where I have to pass an exam to pass a class, but I really struggled this mod with Med Surg 2 because I just did not have enough time to process all of the disease processes, all the pathophysiologies, the signs and symptoms. Like towards the end, like the last 2 weeks was where I really got to like hammer down and figure out how to make these diseases into patients and what to look for and give them nicknames and all this other stuff. But before that, it was just like, oh my gosh, like, I was taking these exams. We only had 4 exams, and 2 of the 4 exams I failed. So when you get under a 75, you fail. There are no D's. It's just failing. So even though my grades were in the low 70s, one I got a 66, you're still failing. That's just how it is. And it was kind of crushing because I'm like, oh my god, the 66, I was so close to passing. And the other one, my 72, I was like, oh my god. But it's not just about passing. It's like, I don't know this information, and what can I do to learn this information? And then I got sick, and it was just like so much stuff going on, but I had to figure out what was going on with me and why I was doing bad. One exam, I think it was my 3rd exam, I actually got an 83 on. So I did improve my studying process for that. But then the exam after that was just god awful. I think that was when I got a 66 on. Like, I freaking tanked it. It was terrible. And I'm just being real and honest with you guys. So it put me in a position where I was just at a 79 in the class, like a 79 point something. I was at an 83.3 before with my overall grade, but then that last exam before the final, when I got that 66, it dropped my grade down to a 79. And passing in that class, like period, in our school, you have to pass with a 75. There's no rounding or any of that. So literally my heart sank. I felt absolutely sick, and I was terrified because I'm like, wow, I'm actually in a position where I could, fail, and this isn't me. Why is this going on? The responsibility was on me. I wasn't like, well, what is the teacher not doing? Of course there are things that teachers could do better, but I'm not passing the buck. It's like, okay, she does give us the information, she does hold us accountable for 4 to 5 chapters. That's insane. And there's a lot of work to do outside of the classroom. Like, you need to look over the PowerPoints, but all the PowerPoints don't have all the information you need. You need to read the book, and the book is like 20 something pages long. It's like, oh my god, and there's more than one. It's like, I have to actually take this in, and I need to filter out what you possibly might ask me. And then there's also the NCLEX book. You guys, when I say I started using all of my resources, like I was looking at the ATI, I was looking at, our rationales for ATIs for disabled, which unfortunately sucks because I don't think that helps me. Like, I need to be able to answer something after I think through the process with how I think it should be done, and then get the rationale, because if my thinking is incorrect, I need to change the way I think, you know, to like a nurse. So my ATI grades were like in the 60s. So, you know, those were okay, but not the best. And then I was looking at the NCLEX book, which does have the rationales, so that helped. Sorry, I'm like really hot and I'm driving. And what else did I do? So ATI's NCLEX book, and then reading the chapters, like she said, and focusing on things that she actually elaborated on. So with teachers, what you need to do is you need to learn. Sorry about the long pause, you guys. I just drove by a cop. So with any of your classes, you need to figure out the teaching style of your teacher and what they expect, which you can usually get off of the first or the second test. You can figure out how they gather information or how they present it, and you know, how to go about answering those things. But Med Surg was just like critical thinking like 1,000. And here's disease processes, and here's signs and symptoms, and some diseases have the same signs and symptoms, and there's only one defining thing. But you know, really, the one thing I really got from Med Surg is you need to put in the time to study, and you really need to figure out how to remember these diseases, how to remember the signs and symptoms, assign patients, draw out patients, I don't know, get some dolls or something. Like literally that's how I ended up studying for this final. I ended up making like a sheet, and I gave all my patient names and stuff so I could refer back to, oh, Addie has Addison's disease, so she has bronze skin and she enjoys salt, and Addison's disease is adrenal insufficiency, so she's gonna have hypoglycemia. Wow, watch me work. Okay, I was just very happy with how I did that so effortlessly, because it was not like that before. But there's just a ton of them. So I like that, you know, a lot was expected of me. I don't like that I wasn't really meeting the mark initially, that it took so long to get it together, but I did. And when I say I was actually gonna make a video if I did fail and let you guys know that I failed, it was like I was saddened because I felt like I was gonna let myself down. I felt like, you know, a failure. I felt disappointed in myself. I felt embarrassed because, you know, I have these standards for myself and I'm putting them out there, and I'm trying to, you know, motivate myself and other people. And, you know, how can you motivate people if you're not, you know, passing? So I don't know, I had like a range of emotions going on, but you know, when I did the calculations, I was just like, okay, you know, after getting that 66, it brought my 83.3 down to a freaking 79 point something, and then it was like, all right, well, this is what I need to get on the final. You need to do everything in your power to get this grade on this final. And I freaking, like, after we did the review, I tried to, in my mind, just remember as much from the review as possible, collaborated with my group, and then from there, I literally did major brain dumps. On Friday, I did a brain dump, you know, throughout work, and then Saturday, I did a brain dump, and I was just studying, and then I was looking over the PowerPoints in the book for anything that triggered, oh yeah, we talked about this in the review, you know, should know these life values, etc., etc. So it was a lot, you know. We covered the musculoskeletal system, the respiratory system. I mean, what we talked about: Cushing's, Addison's, Lou Gehrig's. We talked about bladder infections. We talked about osteomyelitis. We talked about shock, septic shock. We talked about everything. It was basically, here's your scenario, here's your patient, what do you do? And you pretty much need to know, oh my God, and select all that apply. You guys, and that was also killing me on the exams, because I didn't know, you know, out of the 4 or 5 answers, I didn't know all those select all applies. Like, I didn't know all the signs and symptoms, the ones, you know, that are the most common that everyone should know, you know. Those were killing me. NCLEX is anything like this, I'm gonna freaking fail. But I got it together, and I just can't believe I got it together. And I was like, you know, after I've calculated what I needed to get to pass, I was like, I'm about to go hard. And that's just what I did. So yeah, so after the first test and the second test, I did do better, but I didn't do as good as I wanted to. And the third test, I did do better, but then the fourth test, I bombed. After the second test was when I went ahead and I took 3 days off. I took off 1 day a week, and that was the day before the exam, because that was the best day for me to take off. And I used that time to study. Now remember, I'm busy 7 days of the week, and I still have school and my other job and such, so it wasn't just like, oh crap, I have something in my eye. So it wasn't just like, oh, okay, I took off 1 day and I had the whole day. I didn't have the whole day. I just had the time that I was normally at work free. And, you know, you also have to remember, like I had to remember, you don't study by cramming, and you cannot get everything you need to know in 1 day. That information needs to be spread out over days. You need to come back to it, and you need to be asked questions forcing you to recall it. That's how I learn anyways, but I think I actually watched something on that. You know, I watch videos from like other nurses and physicians and such that talk about the best ways to study. But from my experience, those are kind of like tried and true things. No cramming, because you will not retain most of that stuff. You just try to stick it to your brain. You have to have space in between it. You need to come back to it, and don't be lazy. You know, try to get questions and recall the information, because that's what's going to make it stick, and find a format that's going to, or a way to question it, or a way to figure out the process, so that you'll think, oh, okay, you know, this all relates. For example, what is it? A patient with Cushing's disease. If they have Cushing's, that means, you know, everything's in the hyper state. They will have fragile skin, prolonged wound healing. Oh, the way I did it was they have prolonged wound healing, which relates to fragile skin, because if their wounds are, you know, taking forever to heal, then their skin's also fragile. And if they have fragile skin, their skin is weak, which also reminds you that they will have muscle weakness, or just generalized weakness. So that's how I remember that, by tying it all together. Yeah, me needing a 62 on that final, that was what I calculated, you know, needing a 62 to pass the class with the 75, and the fact that I got a 98 just like made my life. Like, it was just perfect. So all that just paid off. But I wasn't eating. I was nervous. I was worried again. Like, you know, I know failing is just a setback, but honestly, my whole life, like when I say my life right now, is centered around me being on this timeline with nursing. It really is. My work schedule, my living situation with my boyfriend, where we live, why we chose to live here, you know, literally everything is centered around me going to nursing school for only 1 year and hammering it out. So I'm being extremely hard on myself, you know, and I just have to, because I don't want to be complacent, and I don't want to settle, and I just need to push myself to the full capacity that I'm able to achieve. So I'm just extremely relieved and super excited that I actually made it through Med Surg 2. And again, those are pretty much like all the tips I have, and sharing my I almost failed story.